In 1985, 7 million American children between the ages of 5 and 13 came home from school to an empty house. The key was on a string around their neck or hidden under the mat. The door opened into a quiet kitchen. The parents were at work. The babysitter was too expensive, and dinner was whatever a 9-year-old could reach, open, and operate without burning the house down. Number 21 on this list was eaten by nearly every latchkey kid in America at least twice a week. Number 12 required zero cooking and was consumed standing in front of the refrigerator with the door still open. And number 1, the meal that defined the entire latchkey generation, took 30 seconds to make and tasted like freedom and loneliness in equal measure. These were not recipes. These were survival skills learned by children who were old enough to unlock a door but too young to drive to a store. Hit subscribe. Let us count them down. Number 25. Butter and sugar on white bread. The door opened. The backpack hit the floor. The bread came out. A slice of Wonder Bread, spread with butter and sprinkled with sugar. Folded in half and eaten in 4 bites, standing at the counter. Total preparation time, 15 seconds. A child alone in a house for the first time discovered this combination the way early humans discovered fire, through instinct and hunger, and the raw logic of combining the sweetest thing in reach with the softest thing available. Nobody taught this. Nobody had to. Every latchkey kid who ever stood in a kitchen at 3:30 in the afternoon with no instructions and an empty stomach arrived at butter and sugar on bread independently, as if the recipe was encoded somewhere in the DNA of American childhood. Number 24. Cheese melted on a plate in the microwave. A slice of American cheese laid flat on a plate. Microwave. 30 seconds. The cheese melted into a rubbery, bubbly disc that could be peeled off the plate and eaten with your fingers. Some kids folded it, some rolled it, some let it cool until it hardened into a crispy cheese cracker. The microwave was the latchkey kid's stove. It was the one appliance parents trusted a child to use without supervision, and children used it on everything. The cheese on a plate discovery happened in every household with a microwave and a pack of Kraft singles, which in 1985 was every household in America. The melted cheese tasted the same as the cheese on a burger, and a child eating it off a plate at 3:45 felt exactly like a person in charge of their own dinner. Number 23. Cereal for dinner. A bowl of whatever cereal was in the cabinet with milk poured to the rim. Not breakfast cereal eaten at breakfast. Dinner cereal. The meal that happened at 5:30 when a child had been home alone for 2 hours, the parents were still not back, and hunger had moved past the snack stage into the real meal stage. A second bowl followed the first, sometimes a third. The sugar content was irrelevant. The speed was the point. Cereal required no cooking, no cutting, no heat source, and no skill beyond pouring. A latchkey kid could feed themselves a full dinner in under a minute and be back in front of the television before the commercial break ended. Lucky Charms, Cap'n Crunch, Frosted Flakes. The brand didn't matter. What mattered was that the box was always there, and the milk was always cold, and nobody had to do anything except pour. Number 22. Pizza bagels. A bagel split in half, spread with ketchup or leftover spaghetti sauce, topped with shredded mozzarella. Microwaved until the cheese melted. This was the latchkey kid's pizza, invented independently in thousands of kitchens by children who understood the basic architecture of pizza and worked backward from whatever was in the fridge. Some kids used English muffins. Some used regular bread. The bagel was the premium version because it held its shape under the cheese and didn't go completely soggy in the microwave. A child who could make pizza bagels felt competent in a way that no other kitchen achievement could match. It was real food. It was hot. It looked like something, and the child had made it alone, without instructions, from memory and improvisation. Number 21. Ramen noodles. A package of top ramen, boiled on the stove in 3 minutes by a child who had been taught exactly one cooking skill: boiling water. The noodles went into the pot. The seasoning packet went in after. The broth was drunk from the bowl and the noodles eaten with a fork. 10 cents per package. 20 minutes of feeling full. This was the Latchkey meal that crossed every income line, every region and every ethnicity. A child in a suburb and a child in a project ate the same ramen the same way at the same time of day. Some crushed the noodles and ate them dry from the bag with the seasoning shaken over the top like chip dust. Some added a slice of American cheese that melted into the broth. The variations were infinite, and the base was always the same, a 10-cent package of noodles that kept a generation of unsupervised children fed until their parents walked through the door. Number 20. Peanut butter, straight from the jar. A jar of Jif or Skippy, a spoon, and the television. That was dinner, not on bread, not on crackers, just peanut butter scooped and eaten one spoonful at a time while watching cartoons. The jar sat on the couch cushion next to the child. The spoon went back in for another scoop every few minutes. By the time a parent arrived home, the jar was noticeably lighter and the child claimed to have already eaten, which was technically true. Peanut butter straight from the jar was the meal that required zero preparation, zero cleanup, and zero evidence. A child could eat 500 calories of protein and fat in 15 minutes and leave no dish in the sink. The perfect crime of Latchkey cooking. Number 19. Cinnamon sugar toast. Bread toasted in the toaster, spread with butter, sprinkled with a mixture of cinnamon and sugar. The butter melted into the hot bread. The sugar crystals dissolved at the edges, and the cinnamon turned the whole thing into something that smelled like a bakery. 2 slices for a snack, 4 slices for dinner. A child who discovered the cinnamon sugar shaker in the spice cabinet had found the keys to the kingdom. Cinnamon sugar toast was the first thing many Latchkey kids learned to make that felt like cooking, even though it was just toasting and sprinkling. The pride was real. The full stomach was real. The cinnamon on the fingertips was real. Everything about it felt like a small accomplishment in a quiet house. Number 18. Nachos. Tortilla chips spread on a plate. Shredded cheese scattered on top. Microwave for 45 seconds. The cheese melted over the chips and fused them together into a slab that you pulled apart with your hands, strings of cheese stretching between each piece. Some kids added salsa from a jar. Some added a squirt of yellow mustard because they did not know any better, and it still tasted fine. Nachos were the Latchkey kids' party food. The thing you made when a friend came over after school and you wanted to prove you could handle the kitchen. 2 plates of nachos and 2 cans of soda was a feast, served on the living room floor in front of a movie rented from the video store. The nachos were never as good as the ones at a restaurant. They were better because a 10-year-old had made them. Number 17. Hot dogs. Microwaved on a paper towel. A hot dog from the fridge placed on a paper towel, microwaved for 45 seconds. The paper towel absorbed the grease. The hot dog split along one side and curled slightly. Placed in a bun if buns existed. Placed on bread if they didn't. Eaten plain if neither was available. Ketchup, mustard or nothing, depending on what the refrigerator offered. A child could prepare a hot dog in under a minute, with no supervision and no risk of fire. That safety profile made the microwaved hot dog the most parent-approved Latchkey meal in America. Mothers who left instructions on the counter, written in capital letters on a yellow legal pad, included, "You can microwave a hot dog" on the approved list. That sentence was the Latchkey Kids diploma. Permission to feed yourself, signed by a mother who wished she didn't have to leave. Number 16. Frozen burrito. A bean and cheese burrito from a box of 10 that cost about $1.99. wrapped in a paper towel, microwaved for 2 minutes. The outside was scalding. The inside was still partially frozen. Biting into a microwaved frozen burrito without burning the roof of your mouth or hitting an ice crystal was a skill that Latchkey kids mastered through painful repetition. The trick was waiting 3 minutes after the microwave beeped, which no child in history has ever successfully done. The frozen burrito was the meal of impatience. It was ready before it was ready, and you ate it anyway, because waiting was not something a hungry 10-year-old did well in an empty house. Number 15. Leftover spaghetti cold from the fridge. A Tupperware container of last night's spaghetti, eaten cold with a fork, standing in front of the open refrigerator. Not reheated, not plated, cold. The noodles had clumped together overnight into a solid mass that you broke apart with the fork. The sauce had thickened and concentrated, tasting more intensely of tomato and garlic than it had the night before. Cold leftover spaghetti was the Latchkey kids' relationship with their parents' cooking, experienced after the fact, alone, in a kitchen that still smelled faintly like the meal they had missed. Some kids heated it up. Most didn't, because the microwave took 2 minutes and the fork was already in the container. Number 14. Ants on a log. Celery sticks filled with peanut butter and topped with raisins. This was the after-school snack that school counselors and children's television hosts recommended to parents as a healthy option for unsupervised children. It required no heat, no sharp objects, and no adult supervision. A child could assemble 10 of them in 5 minutes and feel like a chef. The peanut butter held the raisins in place. The celery provided crunch. The combination was sweet, salty, and crunchy in a way that satisfied a child long enough to get from 3:30 to 5:30 without opening the chip bag. Ants on a log was the meal that responsible parenting looked like in the 1980s. A vegetable, a protein, and a fruit, assembled by an 8-year-old alone in a kitchen while the rest of the world worked. Number 13. Grilled cheese in the microwave. Not a real grilled cheese. A microwave grilled cheese, 2 slices of bread with a slice of American cheese between them, microwaved for 30 seconds. The bread went soft instead of crispy. The cheese melted but didn't brown. The result was a warm, limp, vaguely cheese-flavored sandwich that bore no resemblance to the stovetop version, but served the same emotional purpose. A child who was not allowed to use the stove made microwave grilled cheese because the desire for melted cheese was stronger than the limitations of the appliance. It was the meal of compromise, not what you wanted, but close enough to what you wanted that the distance didn't matter. Number 12. A handful of shredded cheese from the bag. The refrigerator door opened. The bag of shredded cheddar appeared. A hand went in, grabbed a fistful, and brought it directly to the mouth. The door closed. That was the meal. No plate, no preparation, no pretense. Shredded cheese, eaten standing in front of the refrigerator, was the most honest meal on this entire list because it acknowledged what every Latchkey kid already knew. Nobody was watching. Nobody cared how you ate, and the cheese was right there. The bag went back lighter than it started. The child went back to the couch. Dinner had technically occurred. Number 11. Pop-Tarts. 2 Pop-Tarts from a foil wrapper, eaten straight from the package or toasted for 30 seconds. Frosted strawberry and brown sugar cinnamon were the national standards. A box cost about $1.39 and contained enough Pop-Tarts for a week of after-school meals. The Pop-Tart was not food in any nutritional sense. It was a pastry-shaped delivery system for sugar and nostalgia. A Latchkey kid eating a Pop-Tart at 4 in the afternoon was performing a ritual as consistent and comforting as any dinner their parents made. The foil wrapper tore the same way every time. The pastry broke along the same line. The frosting tasted identical in every box, in every store, in every state. In a life where a child came home to a different emotional landscape every day, some days fine, some days lonely, some days afraid, the Pop-Tart was the one thing that never changed. Number 10. Bagel bites. 9 frozen mini bagels topped with sauce and cheese, baked on a tray or microwaved on a plate. Bagel bites arrived in 1985 and were engineered specifically for the Latchkey demographic, a hot, pizza-flavored snack that a child could prepare alone. The jingle said you could eat them in the morning, in the evening, at supper time. Latchkey kids ate them at all 3. The microwave version was soggy. The oven version was better, but took 14 minutes, which felt like an hour to a hungry child. Most compromised, microwave first, then under the broiler for 60 seconds if they were brave enough to use it. Bagel bites were the first frozen food marketed directly at children as a meal they could make for themselves. The food industry understood the Latchkey generation before the parenting experts did. Number 9. Bologna rolled around a cheese stick. A slice of bologna from the deli drawer wrapped around a stick of string cheese. Eaten like a cigar. No bread, no mustard, no plate. The bologna provided salt and protein. The cheese provided fat and calcium. The roll provided portability. A child ate this while doing homework, watching television, or walking from the kitchen to the bedroom. It required no preparation beyond the physical act of rolling, which took approximately 4 seconds. The bologna and cheese roll was the Latchkey kids' charcuterie board, a cured meat and a cheese, assembled with intention, consumed without ceremony. Number 8. Instant oatmeal. A packet of Quaker instant oatmeal, maple and brown sugar or cinnamon and spice, torn open, poured into a bowl, hot water from the tap added, stirred. Done in 45 seconds. The oatmeal thickened immediately into a sweet, warm paste that a child ate with a spoon while the house was quiet and the afternoon felt long. Instant oatmeal was the only warm meal on this list that required no appliance at all. It only needed a tap that ran hot enough, which most did. A child who didn't know how to use the stove or the microwave could still make instant oatmeal. That accessibility made it the youngest Latchkey kid's first solo meal. 5-year-olds made it. That sentence should bother you more than it does. Number 7. Frozen pizza. A Totino's party pizza, 99 cents, was placed on the oven rack at 400 degrees for 12 minutes. It was the first Latchkey meal that required actual oven use, which meant it was reserved for older kids, usually 11 and up, who had received the oven torque from a parent. The pizza came out bubbling, the cheese barely melted, and the crust was somewhere between cardboard and cracker. It was cut with scissors because finding a pizza cutter was too much effort. It was eaten off a paper towel because dishes meant cleanup, and cleanup meant evidence, and evidence meant questions. The frozen pizza was the Latchkey kids' graduation meal, the moment you proved you could operate the oven and feed yourself something that resembled a real dinner. A child who could make a frozen pizza was, in the economy of the empty house, an adult. Number 6. Chicken noodle soup from a can. Campbell's chicken noodle soup, opened with a can opener, poured into a pot, and heated on the stove for 4 minutes. The soup was the first real cooking most Latchkey kids ever did, operating a can opener, turning on a burner, stirring a pot, and knowing when it was hot enough. The noodles were soft, the broth was salty, the chicken pieces were small and pale, and nothing like real chicken. None of it mattered. A bowl of hot soup on a cold afternoon in an empty house was comfort that a child could provide for themselves, and that self-sufficiency was the whole point of the Latchkey experience. The child who made soup was the child who had learned that being alone did not mean being helpless. Number 5. Kraft macaroni and cheese. The blue box. Boil water, cook noodles, drain. Add butter, milk, and the orange powder packet. Stir. This was the Mount Everest of Latchkey cooking, a multi-step recipe that required boiling water, draining a pot, and combining ingredients in a specific order. A child who could make Kraft macaroni and cheese could make anything. The dish took about 15 minutes from start to finish and produced a pot of bright orange pasta that tasted like childhood itself. Many Latchkey kids made their first box of Kraft macaroni and cheese alone at age 8 or 9, following instructions on the side of the box with the concentration of a surgeon. The result was never as good as when a parent made it. It was always better because they had done it alone. Number 4. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. 2 slices of bread. Peanut butter on one, jelly on the other. Press together. This was the first meal most American children ever made entirely by themselves, and for Latchkey kids, it was the foundation of everything that came after. A child who could make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich could feed themselves. That capability changed the equation of the empty house from frightening to manageable. 2 sandwiches was dinner. 3 was a feast. The bread bag twisted shut afterward. The peanut butter lid screwed on. The jelly back in the fridge. A child who cleaned up after making a sandwich was a child who had learned to take care of themselves. That lesson was worth more than any meal on this list. Number 3. Microwave popcorn. A bag of Orville Redenbacher, or Act 2, placed in the microwave for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The kernels exploded inside the bag, filling the kitchen with a smell so powerful it overwrote the empty house. The bag was opened carefully, steam pouring out, and the popcorn poured into the largest bowl available. Eaten on the couch in front of the television, 1 handful at a time, the butter coating the fingers, the salt on the lips. Microwave popcorn was not dinner, but it was the meal that made the empty house feel like a choice instead of a circumstance. A child with popcorn and a television was not a child alone. That child was a child having a movie night, and the fact that the audience was 1 person didn't make the popcorn taste any different. Number 2. Whatever was in the fridge. A slice of cheese, 3 crackers, half an apple from yesterday, a cold chicken leg from last night, a spoonful of leftover mashed potatoes eaten straight from the container. This was not a meal. It was a collection of things gathered during a slow circuit of the refrigerator that lasted 10 minutes and ended with the child standing at the counter surrounded by open containers, eating with their fingers. The whatever was in the fridge dinner was the truest meal on this list because it had no recipe, no plan, and no name. It was hunger solved by inventory. A child opened the door, surveyed what existed, and assembled a dinner from the available evidence. No adult had planned it. No cookbook described it. It was pure improvisation performed by a person under 4 feet tall who had been trusted with the keys to the house and the contents of the kitchen. Number 1. A bowl of cereal at 6 p.m. while watching cartoons alone. This is the meal. The one that every Latchkey kid remembers. Not because it was good, not because it was special, because of how it felt. The house was quiet, the television was on, the spoon clinked against the bowl, the cereal crackled as the milk hit it, and for that 10 minutes the child was not scared and not lonely and not wondering when the door would open. The child was just eating. Cereal, milk, cartoons, couch. The simplest combination in the history of American childhood, performed alone in a house that was too quiet, by a child who had figured out that if you kept eating and kept watching and didn't think about the empty rooms behind you, the afternoon eventually ended and the key eventually turned in the lock, and the house stopped being empty and started being home again. That bowl of cereal was not dinner. It was the bridge between alone and not alone. And every Latchkey kid who ever poured one knows exactly what it tasted like. It tasted like waiting, and waiting in 1985 was the flavor of an entire childhood. That is 25 meals made by children who came home to an empty house and figured it out. No instructions, no supervision, no choice. If you were one of those kids, if you ate cereal for dinner and cold spaghetti from the fridge and ramen you made yourself at age 9, put it in the comments. Share this with someone who wore a key around their neck. And subscribe, because 7 million kids learned to feed themselves in the 1980s, and somebody should finally say they did a good job.